Alright then, I'm back with another list now, and this time it's the top 10 pay-per-view draws in WCW history. This includes the NWA days when they were doing pay-per-views as well. I include it all under the same banner because it's pretty much the same company, just they rebranded it and changed the name in 91, 92 when Ted Turner took over. So yeah, let's get into the list. Number 10 on the top 10 WCW draws of all time for me is the Giant. You know, he was only active between 1994 and 1998 in WCW, but in that time, you know, he was a massive hit. He featured heavily in the NWO angles, both against Hulk Hogan and both backing him up as his muscle, so to speak. Then he had a notable feud with Kevin Nash, where Kevin Nash ended up breaking the Giant's neck. I don't know if that was kayfabe or not. I remember back at the time I actually believed that it was real, but now looking back I think it might have been kayfabe. I'm not too sure. I've seen the footage since and it does look quite real, to be honest, so you know, it could go either way. But yeah, he was a really big draw, you know, huge in stature. They booked him as Andre the Giant's son straight away, so he went straight after, I keep saying straight away, sorry, he went after Hulk Hogan pretty much from the get-go. It was booked in pay-per-view matches against Hulk Hogan. I think he beat Hulk Hogan for a title. I don't know if it was on Nitro or maybe World War III pay-per-view. I remember something like that. I remember. Number 9 on my list is Kevin Nash. Now Kevin Nash, he was active 96 till 2001. Now, pretty much all the Monday Night Wars, as soon as he jumped from WWF to WCW, he was treated as a main eventer. His first card where he wrestled, was it Bash of the Beats 96? Was that the first time he actually wrestled? That's when the NWO thing kicked off. Straight away main event, him and Hall with a mystery partner against Sting, Savage and Luger. You know, straight away put into the main event, and he stayed in the main event throughout. You know, he ended Goldberg's undefeated streak at Starrcade '98, was it? You know, he had a fantastic array of main event matches where they drew big gates as well, big buy rates sort of thing. That's what I'm trying to get through to. Drew big buy rates. So yeah, Kevin Nash comes in at number 9. Number 8 is Roddy Piper. Now, he was only used a few times by WCW, but he was always put in the main event with Hulk Hogan. Now, I'm not a big fan of Roddy Piper. I know he's awesome on the microphone and all this. He was fantastic back in the day when Hulkamania was taking off, and without Roddy Piper there would have been no Hulkamania and all this stuff. But personally, I'm not a big fan of Roddy Piper. I like him, he's alright, but to me, he's not a guy that I'd look at and say, do you know what, he's one of the best ever. He's one of the guys that I'd say he's alright, but he's not at that level of everyone else. But yeah, he was a big draw for WCW in these matches with Hulk Hogan when they brought him in. So he's in at number 8. Number 7 is Diamond Dallas Page. He was in WCW pretty much, I think, from around the time that he was rebranded as WCW, that's when DDP came in. And at first he was a manager for Scott Hall, I think, the Diamond Stud and the Diamond Babes, I don't know what they were calling them back in the day, but Diamond Dallas Page was basically his manager sort of thing, and then he worked his way up backstage and also making himself better in the ring, worked to where he became an in-ring talent, a decent in-ring talent, and then a main event in-ring talent. I remember a feud he had with Randy Savage, where Savage and Elizabeth were mocking Diamond Dallas Page's wife Kimberly. DDP also went on to team with Karl Malone to take on Hogan and, was it Dennis Rodman back in the day? You know, two massive players in the NBA at the time taking on each other. You know, that would have drawn a massive, that did draw a massive buy rate for the WCW. You know, people wanted to, like, from the basketball world, are tuning in to see this. What's Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman doing in a wrestling ring? I want to watch this stuff. You know, DDP was instrumental in that. He was in the centre of it. He teamed up with Karl Malone in that instance, and I think he was the guy who teamed up with Jay Leno when it was DDP and Leno against Bischoff and Hogan. So yeah, he was involved with a lot of these celebrity gimmick matches where they drew bigger numbers than it regularly would have without that celebrity, because obviously outsider fans were beginning to tune into that. Number 6 on my list is Big Van Vader. He was only active for 5 years in WCW, but this guy was a larger than life character. I remember, like, when I was just starting to watch wrestling, Boy Meets World was a popular TV show here in England, and he was featured in that quite, like, in a few episodes. I remember thinking, wow, this guy's massive. And at that point he'd only wrestled in WCW, and then when he came into WWF, I think that's how it chronologically went. That yeah, I first got to see him really wrestle in the ring, and was it Royal Rumble '96 where him and Yokozuna had a bit of a falling out because they were both in Camp Cornette and what was going to happen. but that's WWF and talking about WCW. You know, he was a massive draw. You know, he had notable feuds with Sting, Ric Flair, people like that, and also he was coming from a football background, like I've said before in my videos, that American football is, you know, a massive thing in America, and he played in a Super Bowl, I believe. So, you know, he had massive, you know, a lot of intrigue in him from outsider fans that they really wanted to see what this guy was like, seeing as they'd seen him before in pro football. Number 5 on my list is Macho Man Randy Savage. He jumped ship from WWF in 1994 because WWF weren't using him properly. They were using him as a commentator, and he didn't want to do that. He thought he had more to offer as an in-ring talent. He jumped to WCW straight away. He started main eventing with Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and then he stayed there to the end of WCW. You know, main eventing with guys like Scott Steiner, Sid Vicious, Kevin Nash. Big dollar matches with these guys. Number 4 on my list is Lex Luger. He had 2 stints in WCW, 87 till 92, the NWA era, before he jumped ship to WWF. Then 1995, the start of the Monday Night Wars, the very first episode of WCW Nitro. Lex Luger turns up straight away into the main event scene. The next Nitro, he was against Hulk Hogan in a match, and then he continued to main event pay-per-views throughout his WCW career. Remember him having matches with Sting. There's some match with in the New Blood Rising that he had. You know, he was continually used throughout that as, you know, a main guy in WCW, and especially when it was WCW versus the NWO, he was the key guy in WCW for a long time. But, you know, while Sting was, I think he might have been injured or something, but I remember Luger took the title from Hogan for a while and main evented pay-per-views with Hogan and stuff like that. Number 3 on my list is that guy that I just mentioned, Sting. Sting was a massive draw. You know, he had that very long, drawn-out feud in 97, 98. It was 97 with Hulk Hogan, where he'd stand in the rafters. And they finally fought at Starrcade '97. Everyone was really looking forward to that match. You know, I didn't really get to see that match over here because we didn't get pay-per-view syndication over here, only WWF at that time, so we never got to see WCW pay-per-views. In later years I got to see it. It was a rubbish screw job finish, wasn't it? But, you know, back then I was really looking forward to this match, and I was really looking forward to the next night show to see who won that match and for the results to be announced. And, you know, it was a really exciting time. You know, Sting, he'd pay-per-viewed long before that with Ric Flair at the start of the 90s, and he had matches with Great Muta when they'd bring Muta over to WCW, and they'd have matches with Sting. I think it was Great American Bash '91, something like that. I've got the DVD here that I've been watching, where there's a Sting vs Muta match then. So, you know, Sting was a massive character, you know, and he stayed all the way through WCW, never jumped ship to WWF, even to this day he's never wrestled for the WWF, so, you know, Sting's a massive piece of the WCW pie, so to speak. Number 2, Hulk Hogan. He only joined in 1994 and he stayed till 2000. Was it Bash at the Beach 2000, where the Vince Russo came on and basically called Hulk Hogan a piece of shit and said you'll never see him again. That's when Hulk Hogan left. There's all the lawsuit and all that unhappiness there. You know, like Hulk Hogan, you know, he was the main guy. As soon as he jumped ship to WCW, he was the main guy. He was the main guy in wrestling before that. You know, they'd finally got him back, so they pushed him right to the top, give him the title, give him the main event pushes, give him for the first WCW pay-per-view, I think I remember watching the earliest one back, was a tape of Fall Brawl '95, where the War Games match where Hogan main evented. He was on the team with Sting and Luger and Savage against the Dungeon of Doom team. You know, Hogan was a main eventer throughout. You know, Starrcade '97 with Sting. You know, pretty much I'd say over 50% of the pay-per-views Hulk Hogan main event in WCW. Then number 1, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. He was there pretty much all throughout WCW's history, apart from, you know, the one year that he took off and went to WWF because he wasn't happy with WCW. You know, as soon as he went back to WCW, he was treated as the main event star that he is. He was treated like that before he left. He was the world champion when he left WCW, but something went wrong. I don't know what it was. A misunderstanding with Jim Herd, I think it was. So he left, took the title with him, came back. You know, we waited for this Hulk Hogan Ric Flair feud for a very long time. We didn't get it in the WWF, and then we finally got it in WCW, and it was a fantastic draw. Everyone wanted to watch it, and it drew big figures. And like I've been saying with these guys, he was there till the end of WCW, like most of these guys were. Your Kevin Nashes, your DDPs, your Macho Mans, your Lugers, your Stings, your Hogans. Flair was there till the end. He wrestled the very last night show with Sting. You know, a true main event and a true great in the sport of pro wrestling. Now, if you look at this list, you got the top 3 guys, they are still wrestling in TNA today, and then number 9 is still in TNA today. I've said this before and I'll say it again, TNA, you need to stop using these old guys. Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Sting, Kevin Nash are still on your products and they're still wrestling from time to time. You need to give the younger guys a chance. I know WWF have got the number 10 on the list, they've got the Giant, but he's the youngest out of all of these guys, and he's a big draw. These other guys, they're okay draws, but they're not giving us what we want in the ring. Just so we're at the top 10 again, just see on the video. Number 10, The Giant. Number 9, Kevin Nash. Number 8, Roddy Piper. Number 7, DDP. 6 is Big Van Vader. Number 5 is the Macho Man Randy Savage. 4 is Lex Luger. 3 is Sting. 2 is Hulk Hogan. And number 1 is the Nature Boy Ric Flair.